We all like to think of ourselves as the good guy. In every RPG or action game, we naturally lean toward the heroic path. But what happens when the game stops giving you an easy, right answer? What if the only way to save your family is to let a city burn? Or the only way to survive is to become the very monster you were fighting? Welcome back to GN. Today we're diving into the psychological deep end. We've selected 10 games that strip away the illusions of heroism and force you to face your true self. These titles don't just track your progress, they judge your soul. They prove that personality isn't what you say in a cutscene, it's what you do when the world is falling apart and no one is there to guide you. Prepare yourself. By the end of this list, you might not like the person you see in the mirror. Let's get into it. Kicking off our list at number 10 is Spec Ops The Line. On the surface, it looks like your run-of-the-mill military shooter set in a sand-buried Dubai. But don't let the camouflage fool you. This isn't a power fantasy about being a hero. It's a brutal deconstruction of the genre that asks, why are you even doing this? As Captain Martin Walker, you aren't just fighting insurgents, you're fighting your own sanity. The infamous white phosphorus scene is where the game rips the mask off. It forces you to witness the horrific consequences of your heroic orders. At GN, we love how this title challenges the player directly. It's one of the few games that makes you feel genuinely sick for just following objectives. The morality here isn't a choice in a menu, it's the realization that there are no winners in war, only survivors and monsters. By the time the credits roll, you'll be questioning every military shooter you've ever played. It's a psychological gut punch that earned its spot as the ultimate entry point for this list. Spec Ops reminds us that knowing the right thing and doing it are two very different things. But as we move to number 9, the choices get a lot more bureaucratic.
Wow, that was easier than I expected. Thanks.
At number 9, we have a game that looks like a retro RPG, but functions as a mirror to your soul, Undertale. Most games reward you for killing monsters to level up, but here every life you take, or spare, changes the very fabric of the world and how the characters perceive you. The true moral challenge of Undertale isn't just a dialogue tree, it's the mercy system. You can complete the entire game without hurting a single soul. But here's the catch. It's harder. It's tempting to just strike back when things get tough. At GN, we find it fascinating how the game remembers everything. If you kill a character and then reload your save to undo it, the game knows. It calls you out on your guilt. It subverts the idea of XP and level of violence, love, turning them into tragic metrics of your lack of empathy. Undertale proves that being good isn't just about a choice. It's about the patience to understand those who are different from you, even when they're trying to hurt you. It's a heart-wrenching lesson wrapped in a 16-bit aesthetic. But if you thought judging monsters was hard, wait until you have to judge an entire city's survival at number 8. Coming in at number 8 is a game that will make you feel cold to your very core, Frostpunk. As the leader of the last city on a frozen Earth, you aren't just managing resources, you're managing the survival of the human spirit in a world that has lost all warmth. This is where morality meets cold, hard logic. When the coal runs low and the generator is failing, will you sign a law to put children to work in the dangerous mines? Will you feed the sick with sawdust to make rations last longer? At GN, we love how Frostpunk pushes you into a corner where being a good person might actually get everyone killed. It asks the ultimate question: is a city worth saving if it loses its humanity in the process? The game doesn't judge you with a simple game over. Instead, it forces you to live with your choices as you watch your citizens lose hope or descend into religious fanaticism just to stay alive. It's a haunting look at how far we're willing to go when the temperature drops to -100 degrees. It's a brutal exercise in leadership that leaves no room for easy answers. But as we move to number 7, the burden of choice shifts from an entire city to the life of a single, innocent child. At number 7, we have the game that redefined narrative choice. Telltale's The Walking Dead. As Lee Everett, you aren't just fighting off the undead. You're acting as a guardian, a teacher, and a father figure to a young girl named Clementine in a world that has completely lost its way. What makes this game's morality so haunting is the phrase, Clementine will remember that. Every time you lie, every time you steal to survive, or every time you show mercy to a stranger, she is watching. At GN, we believe this is the ultimate test of character. It's easy to be a monster to survive, but can you remain a good man when you know your actions are shaping the soul of the next generation? The choices here are agonizing because there is rarely a right answer, only the one you can live with. By the final episode, the moral weight isn't about the zombies anymore. It's about the devastating realization of what you've had to become to keep her safe. It's a masterclass in emotional storytelling that still brings tears to our eyes, a true test of the heart. At number 6, we have a game that is as beautiful as it is devastating, This War of Mine. In most war games, you play as an elite soldier, but here, you control a group of civilians trying to survive in a besieged city. There are no kill streaks here, only hunger, sickness, and cold. This is the ultimate test of your personal ethics. When your supplies run out and your friend is dying of an infection, will you raid the house of an elderly couple who have no way to defend themselves? At GN, we're struck by how the game handles guilt. Your characters can fall into deep depression or even take their own lives based on the evil choices you make to keep them alive. It asks a haunting question. Is life worth living if you have to become a monster to keep it? The morality here isn't about points or endings. It's about the person you see in the mirror after a long night of scavenging. It's a raw, unfiltered look at the cost of war that stays with you long after the screen goes black. It's not just a game, it's a punch to the gut of your conscience, a powerful reminder of our shared humanity. Breaking into our top 5 is the king of player agency, Fallout New Vegas. While most RPGs give you a clear path between good and evil, New Vegas throws you into a political meat grinder where every faction is flawed and every choice has a body count. Do you support the NCR, a democracy struggling with corruption, or Caesar's Legion, a brutal dictatorship that brings order through slavery? Maybe you'll side with Mr. House, the cold, calculating visionary. At GN, we love how this game treats you like an adult. Your moral compass isn't measured by a meter, but by the future of the Mojave Wasteland. You aren't just choosing a side, you're deciding which version of humanity deserves to survive. The beauty of New Vegas is that there is no perfect ending. Every victory leaves a bitter taste, and every alliance requires a sacrifice of your principles. It's a masterclass in gray area morality that proves the hardest choices aren't about who you kill, but what kind of world you leave behind. It's the ultimate test of your leadership and vision. At number 4, we have a game that mastered the art of the gray area, The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt. In the world of Geralt of Rivia, there is no white or black morality, only the lesser evil. And more often than not, the right choice leads to a devastating outcome. What makes The Witcher 3 so challenging is that it doesn't give you instant feedback. You might save a group of orphans early in the game, thinking you're a hero, only to find out 10 hours later that your actions led to the destruction of an entire village and the death of people you cared about. At GN, we're obsessed with this ripple effect. It forces you to realize that even with the best intentions, you cannot control the chaos of the world. Whether it's deciding the fate of the Bloody Baron or choosing the next ruler of Skellige, the game never judges you with a karma meter. Instead, it lets the world reflect your choices. It's a haunting reminder that in life, just like in the path of a Witcher, sometimes there are no happy endings, just the consequences you're forced to live with. It's storytelling at its most ruthless. But as we enter the top 3, we leave the monsters behind to face a challenge that is terrifyingly human.
Hands up. Where's Abby?
Taking the bronze medal at number 3 is perhaps the most divisive game ever made, The Last of Us Part 2. This isn't a game about choosing dialogue options. It's a game that weaponizes empathy to force you to face the darkness within yourself. After a traumatic opening, the game sets you on a path of pure revenge. But then, it does the unthinkable. It forces you to walk in the shoes of the person you hate the most. We believe this is the ultimate moral challenge. It strips away the hero and villain labels and leaves you with two broken human beings. The game asks, can you still feel empathy for your enemy once you've seen their side of the story? It's an exhausting, brutal experience that makes you feel complicit in every swing of the machete. By the time you reach that final, rain-soaked beach, you aren't fighting for a win. You're fighting for an end to the cycle of violence. It's a masterpiece of psychological discomfort that proves sometimes the hardest choice is simply letting go. A game that split the community in half, but undeniable in its power.
Toss your weapon. Toss your weapon! Fuck! You killed my friends. We let you both live. And you wasted it!
Oh, hi. Didn't hear you come in. Simon Jarrett, right?
Dr. Munchie?
Well, it's just Mr. Munchie, but I'm working on it. Actually, you're helping me right now.
Is this part of your thesis work?
Yeah, it's a study I'm doing with my colleague Paul Berg. We hope to design a gentle way to work with brain reconstruction, to help people like you.
Our silver medalist is a game that doesn't just challenge your morality, it breaks your brain. SOMA is a psychological horror masterpiece that hides a terrifying philosophical question beneath the dark waters of the Atlantic. What makes you, you? In SOMA, the moral choices aren't about being good or bad. They are about existence. When you encounter a machine that thinks it's a human, do you turn it off? Is that mercy or murder? At GN, we find the coin flip theory in this game to be one of the most haunting concepts ever explored in media. You're forced to make decisions about consciousness and legacy that will leave you staring at the screen in silence for minutes. It's a lonely, existential nightmare that challenges the very definition of the soul. By the time you reach the ending, one of the most devastating finales in gaming history, you'll realize that the true horror isn't the monsters chasing you, but the choices you made to save what was left of humanity. SOMA is a game that stays with you forever, questioning your own reality. But there is still one game left, the ultimate test of morality. Finally, we reach number 1. A game that doesn't just ask you to make choices, it asks you to live inside a broken mind. Disco Elysium is the ultimate moral challenge, not because you're saving the world, but because you're trying to save a single, shattered human soul. Your own. In the city of Revachol, every thought in your head is a voice you have to argue with. Will you be a fascist, a communist, or a hopeless superstar? The morality here is found in the smallest whispers of your conscience. At GN, we believe no other game captures the messy, confusing, and often ugly reality of being human. You can be a beacon of hope in a decaying world, or you can succumb to your darkest impulses, and the game will judge you for every single thought. It's a masterpiece of writing that forces you to face your own biases, your own failures, and your own capacity for empathy. There are no good or evil meters, just the consequences of who you choose to be when no one and everyone is watching. It is quite simply the most profound moral experience ever put in a digital format. And there you have it, 10 digital mirrors that reflected our darkest corners. From the frozen wastes of Frostpunk to the shattered mind of Disco Elysium, these experiences prove that gaming is no longer just about high scores or flashy graphics. It's about the weight of responsibility and the complexity of the human condition. But now, I want to hear from you. Was there a specific choice in a game that actually made you pause the console and think? A moment that made you feel genuine guilt or pride? Let us know in the comments. We read all of them, and we want to know what kind of survivor you are. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to GN for more content that challenges the way you play. I'm your host, and remember, in the game of life, as in these titles, Your choices define who you truly are. See you in the next one.